Okay, so day 27, Friday, September 8th, 9th, I don't know. So we got up, headed to local KTM dealership. Pretty nice dealership. It's on the south side of Kalispell. And the reason for the visit was because yesterday when we were riding on North Fork Road with all those really bad washboards and potholes, Daniel's shock absorber disconnected from the resonator canister behind the engine. Basically, the muffler came off the end of the pipe where it comes out of the engine, and the only thing holding on was a bolt by the passenger foot peg. So the whole muffler's sitting there doing this, going down the road, which he doesn't care about because it sounds really cool. But you know, it could hit the swing arm, hit the rear brake caliper, you know, all kinds of bad things, and just fall off and cause a problem. So didn't get an early start. You know, we got up about 8:15, grabbed breakfast at the hotel, loaded up the bikes, got out of there about 10:15. Found the dealership, walked in, told them what was going on. The guy had us just bring the bike around to the service bay, and within 20 minutes they were done. Basically what they did was they took the graphite gasket that goes around the end of the pipe where the muffler pipe slips over, and they found one on a Yamaha that was almost the right size, so they just cut it so they could open it up a little bigger and slip it on there. So there is a little bitty gap where some air is getting out, but it's not a problem. And then they were able to slip the end of the muffler back over there and crank down on the clamp, and you know, that's a big deal because that really secures that muffler. Good to go, you know, less than 50 bucks. I was impressed with that. Bugged out of there, headed to the north side of town with the Chick-fil-A, and I thought we were just going there because Daniel had to have a milkshake or something because, you know, couldn't find chocolate milk anywhere. So I started talking to this guy named Drew who lives in oh geez, I can't remember where it is, outside of LA, Palmdale, one of the Palm something, where Lockheed is and Skunk Works type stuff. Anyway, we got to yakking, and he's got a Honda that he's been riding. He's got a buddy that's got a Honda, and they're all excited about adventure riding. And he was asking me a million questions, and yeah, we just sat there and talked for 20 minutes. I finally went in, and well, the kids are having full-blown lunch. Chickens are like, you know, nuggets, the whole 9 yards. So I just got a Coke. While we're sitting there, it's getting darker and darker and more gray and more gray, and it's like, you know, we need to get going, guys. It's looking kind of nasty out there if you don't want to be riding in the rain and the cold, because, you know, it was 50 degrees or something. They didn't move fast enough. So there's a big shopping center, had a Cabela's. The soles on Daniel's boots are falling apart. We were hoping they might have some shoe goo stuff, so we ran over there. Sarah wanted to find like some women's long johns or something like that because her legs have been cold, so she wanted to get some thermals. About the time we get over there, it's starting to rain pretty good, and this parking lot, whatever kind of blacktop they used on it, it's pretty, but it's slick when it gets wet, especially from the oil and everything else from the cars and the antifreeze and everything, and you could just see it running across the parking lot, the little rainbow streaks and stuff. Went in the store. Daniel found some super glue that he's hoping will work, no shoe goo. Sarah found some like base layer tights for women that hopefully will help keep her warmer because she's really having a hard time staying warm. And then the plan was ride up to Pole Bridge again just because it was a fun road, waste some time, and then go back down and get on the Going to the Sun Highway at 3 o'clock because then you don't need a permit. Well, by the time we quit farting around and quit raining and everything else, we just went straight to the Going to the Sun Highway. Got there, and with this permit system they have now, if you don't have a permit ahead of time, vehicle permit, reservation, whatever they want to call it, you can't get in the park, even with the pass. So there's all these people sitting right outside the gate looking at their watches, and it's like 2:56, and they're all waiting to get into the park, and you know, they're all wanting to be the first one, and it's ridiculous because then you got this mad rush for the gate, people trying to get in, bikes, cars, and then once everyone gets in, the traffic is just bumper to bumper. Everybody's backed up in the park. It's retarded, but this is what the people that run the parks think is a good way to handle crowds. So anyway, we got in after 3 o'clock. Turns out that was a nice time of day to go because you don't have the direct overhead sunlight, which makes for much better pictures when the sun's off to one side or the other, morning or evening. So we start riding through the park, and you get immediately to this construction where they're going to be repaving it, and it's wet because a huge storm just went through. It's muddy, we're riding through it. It's not a big deal. Enough cars are going through it. They're squeezing the water out and leaving a little dry track. We did get to one little spot right before the pavement started after the end of the 9 miles of construction, where it was just really potholed, real deep holes, a lot of water. You don't know how deep these holes are. Cars are going through the other way, splashing mud up. So I got as far over as I could to stay out of that. And then once it was a bit breaking traffic, I got over into the left lane, just went past all the puddles and got back over. Then we got on pavement, and after that, yeah, it was nice. Cars started to spread out a little more. Not everybody was going in all the way. They were just going in a little bit, turn around, So the further we went, the thinner the traffic got. People were stopping at turnouts and stuff. And then you get to the part where it really starts to climb, and it gets up. If you look on a map, there's a real sharp V on the map. And at that point is a real cool U-turn. Eventually you get up to the top of, I want to say it's called Logan's Pass. And the views are amazing. I mean, we had a lot of clouds because of the rain, and it was cold. I mean, it was in 55, 53, it kind of fluctuated. But the sun was still coming through because we were on the kind of the back side of the rain because we'd waited it out. So there's just really cool views of the clouds, low clouds with the mountains sticking up above the clouds, places where the top of the mountains are going into the clouds and you can't see them. Sometimes you see like this ghostly backlit shadow of a mountain surrounded by clouds, There's places where we're going through the forest and it looks like something straight out of Fangorn Forest from Lord of the Rings, Just creepy, spooky, really cool. And most of the motorists are pretty cool, We were behind them, and they noticed us, and I was not crowding them. I wasn't getting on their back bumper or anything. I was, low speed park, people there to sightsee. That is what it is. We're not trying to ride fast. But they'd pull over and, wave us around if they had room. So, you're not sitting there sucking their exhaust or getting road spray and stuff. Shot a bunch of video. Still haven't edited any of the video. I just looked to see if the camera's actually capturing, but it was. And then we did the climb, just all the way to the top. And I swear every time we got to a pull, I was like, oh my God, I got to take a picture. Oh my God, I got to take a picture. Daniel, same thing. My phone only has 128 gig. I'm up to 117. I do have a laptop with me and the ability to offload some photos, so I may be doing that pretty soon to make room for the stuff for the rest of the trip. Sarah got out in front pretty early once we hit the pavement. Daniel and I stopped. She's like, I'm just going to keep going. And we never saw her again after that until, we were pretty far out, not quite to St. Mary's. We hadn't got to the lake right before St. Mary's. She had finally turned around. She said she waited like 20 minutes for us, which didn't surprise me because we were stopping a lot. Just awesome views. Saw a bear, running up the side of the mountain, getting away from all the morons that were trying to get pictures of it from up close and everything. Never got rained on. It might have been a few sprinkles, but for the most part, beautiful. Couldn't have been better time of day because of the lighting. Around 4:30, 5 o'clock, you're starting to get really nice lighting, and the trees are changing. Sunlight's coming through, lighting up the yellow, and just very magical. Got down the south side, rolled into St. Mary right at 6 o'clock, came to the Lodge gas station that's right in the middle of town, and just grabbed a snack and a drink. Started trying to figure out where we could stay. I actually called Keith Jordan, Leroy, on the forum. He's right here in the KOA with his wife, and he said the KOA had cabins. I called them. They had one cabin left, and it was like $175 a night. It's basically just a box with a bunk bed and a double bed in it. No bathroom, no nothing. I'm assuming it might be insulated. I don't really know. I wasn't really interested in that. So I went to the St. Mary Lodge. They got a restaurant. It's real nice. Talked to the girl. She's like, we got one left. I was like, how much? She told me. I was like, we'll take it. It's got a little futon over here that Daniel's going to be sleeping on, right over there. And then kind of back around the corner, there's a a queen bed, and it's pretty good size, and it's got a huge bathroom because it's the handicap cabin. So the bathroom is massive. It's got heat, air conditioning. It's got a real nice little porch outside. The stars are amazing tonight. I mean, there's no ambient light around here hardly at all. So if you spend just a few minutes outside, let your eyes adjust, there's stars that you never see before. You know, the Milky Way just leaps out of the sky. You see satellites going back and forth everywhere. It's really cool. You know, yeah, I think it was 6 o'clock when we got the room, and I asked the lady, I was like, how late does this restaurant stay open? She said, we stopped seating at 9 o'clock. I was like, well, you know, I turned to the kids. I'm like, you know, if we stay another day, we got to get a vehicle permit to do this to the Mini Glaciers Road, which is north of where we're at. And that's where the famous lodge is and the beautiful lake, and you're kind of in a big bowl of mountains with all these glaciers around you. And it's really beautiful. And everybody says that's kind of a highlight of the park. You need to go to do that. I didn't want to waste another day here. So I'm like, I'll tell you what, it's 9 miles up the road. Let's just get right back on the bikes. Don't even take our gear off. Don't drop any luggage, nothing. We got the cabin reserved. We'll just haul up there, check it out, come back, grab dinner, go to our cabin. So we got there, and it's beautiful. I mean, they're right into that park. They just paved the road. Now, the pavement does end, and there's a stretch that's, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles of that washboard gravel stuff, but it wasn't too bad. The first reservoir you come up on is really low. There's a dam there, and you can see the water's all the way down to the bottom of the tower that normally sits in the water, and you can only see the top of the tower sticking out. I guess that's where they drain it. I don't know. But it's all the way at the very bottom of that thing. I should have got a picture, you know, because of the nerd part of me, but I just didn't feel like stopping when we were leaving because it was cold. The problem was we were riding into the sun, and the cars ahead of us were kicking up a cloud of dust that it was worse than a bad fog. I mean, I just couldn't see. I tried getting up in the other lane and riding next to the car. I think I kind of freaked them out because, you know, I was right there in their mirror. But it was the only way I could see until oncoming traffic came, and then they took off, and I just had to wait for the dust to clear out. Sarah, she was liking it. You know, I think she's finally getting her confidence back. She even made a comment that's like, this is the kind of road that when we were up on the Kolob Reservoir back when we came out of Zion a couple of weeks ago, that's the road that freaked her out, and we had to stop, and that's why we camped there that night. And she's like, that road was easier than this road, and I'm enjoying this road. And I'm like, I know. You know, you get your confidence back. Back then, that was 2 or 3 days after you just dumped your bike and hurt your shoulder. You were kind of rattled. Totally understandable. Been there, done that. You know, but now you've got 3 weeks of riding under your belt, quite a bit of dirt, some hard gravel, some hard dirt, and you're getting it. And she was riding really well, good lines through the corners. Same thing on the North Fork Road yesterday when we got into the bad washboard and gravels. I was following her, and she was doing it really well. Daniel is just like, he can't go fast enough. Yeah, I'm constantly telling him, it's like, dude, watch your speed. There's other people out here. There's animals out here. You're going way over the speed limit. If you get a ticket and we're in one of these federal parks, it's going to cost a lot of money. And they don't mess around with that stuff. And I don't even know if you can take defensive driving for something like that. So he's trying, but he just really wants to go quick. And anyway, we got into Mini Glacier, got to the lodge, went down to the way overcrowded campground that everybody has to get reservations way early to get into. And it's like, no thanks. I don't want anything to do with that. Although there was a really nice restaurant down there by that campground, and it smelled really good when we got there. But we went back to the lodge, kind of drove through the parking lot and checked it out. Way out of our price range. Got to get reservations way ahead of time. But there's a little bridge right there where the water drains out of the lake and goes down the river and floods out to wherever it goes, and cool waterfalls. So we posed for some pictures there, and some of the people, a couple that were staying there, they took pictures for us with my phone. So I do have pictures of all three of us together that came out really cool. So after that, we just hopped back on the bikes. The lighting was perfect. I mean, the sun was going down. It was lighting up the mountains. It was lighting up the trees. I mean, it really just worked out great to get there at that time. You know, it's that golden hour. If you're a photographer, you know what that's all about. That, you know, early in the morning, late in the evening before the sun, you know, finishes coming up or finishes going down, and everything just has that beautiful golden color. And that's what we got. So we got back on the highway, ran back through the dirt, ran all the way back out to, I think it's US 89, and then booked back down to St. Mary's. Got to the restaurant 8 o'clock, and everybody's kind of looking at us funny because we're walking in full gear, our backpacks, helmets, boots, and these are all fairly well-to-do tourists because this is a pretty expensive place, and we're getting lots and lots of stares. And I told the lady, I'm like, look, is there somewhere you could put us kind of up against the wall where we can put our gear against the wall out of the way? She's like, oh, sure. She takes us all the way to the very back corner of the restaurant, sticks us back there. And there's a big window that runs all the way down the length of the restaurant. And, yeah, we weren't, like, stuck in a corner where no one can see us. They had pretty much everybody down there. It's like a lower level of the restaurant. Start looking at the menu, and I'm seeing numbers like 41, 42, 38, 39. Well, these are the prices for stuff I don't even want to eat. So finally, they're the only game in town. And the waitress comes over, and she's from Texas. She's from Waxahachie. And we start talking to her, and it's like, do you have a burger menu, or can we just get a burger? She said, oh, yeah, I got a burger menu. She brings it back. She's like, yeah, corporate doesn't like us to put these out, but we, if people ask, we'll put them out. They want us to put out these other menus that have real high prices on them, so people will buy that stuff and spend a lot of money. I'm like, sweet, thank you. So I think I got a pulled pork sandwich. It was really good. I think Daniel got a burger that was, okay. He said it was a freezer patty. It wasn't like a homemade patty. He was a little disappointed in that. Sarah got the same thing I did. And then we got ice cream afterwards, and I finally broke down and tried the Huckleberry ice cream. And it turns out it's pretty good. I'll probably have to try some of that again. I think they've got some Huckleberry beer around here, too. I might try a Huckleberry beer just to see what that's all about. Because I've had a blueberry beer before, and it's actually pretty good. Anyway, it was a really good meal. We got out of there 9:15. It was dark. We still hadn't seen our cabin. It was really cold. I mean, it was 51, but kind of damp because it was about to rain. Hopped on the bikes, went around the corner behind the lodge, immediately found the cabin we were staying in. It's cabin number 1. And got in, cranked the heat up right away because we were all just really chilled. And yeah, it's a nice cabin, and it's epic day of riding. I mean, we took so many pictures. Hard to describe. And it's one of those things, like so many things in life, you just need to come here and see it for yourself. You can look at all the pictures. I've seen tons of pictures from other people's ride reports. I've seen videos, on and on and on. But until you're there and you're in the middle of it and you see the scale and the size of this scenery, it's like going to the Grand Canyon or to the top of some mountain or going to the ocean. I mean, you got to do it yourself. Nothing I can say, nothing I could describe, no picture I could take, no video I could shoot is ever going to convey to you what that's really about. I was telling Daniel, it's like the only thing I can think of that is like that. It's like your personal salvation. Someone can ask you what it's like to be saved. Someone can ask you what it's like to believe in Jesus. If they don't take on that journey themselves and do that exploration themselves, if they don't climb that mountain themselves, no amount of you trying to describe to them and tell them is ever going to convince them of anything. If you got someone who doesn't believe and they're saying, I need you to convince me, I'm not convinced, that's not a good argument. There's nothing you can say that's going to convince them. If they're not willing to make that trek themselves, climb to the top of that mountain and see the view for themselves, all I can do is try to motivate them to do that. I can't make them see. And until they do, any information they might have or any knowledge they might think they have is a vague shadow of the reality of that. So same thing. And Daniel gets it. So does Sarah. It's frustrating if you're kind of a photographer bug because you want people to see it, but you do the best you can. Hope they like it. So that's kind of what today was like. Lots of incredible views. Trying to do the best I can with an iPhone. And these iPhones take great pictures. And I also do a lot of videos because I find that the videos actually, you can see more up close detail, and it doesn't squish everything flat and thin like a panorama does, where you get a super wide image and you can't see any detail. So they work out pretty good, and I'll eventually get all those uploaded. But yeah, awesome day of riding. Not sure what we're going to do tomorrow yet. Every night I'm making up the routes. I have a vague idea. We're going to kind of head back towards Kalispell, start working our way south towards Butte, I think. Get south of Butte and go up into an area called the Gravelies. big mountains that I've been in before, ride some dirt gravel roads there, real pretty scenery if the weather's nice, and eventually try to get into Yellowstone, and maybe have to do the same thing where we gotta wait till 3 o'clock so we can get in without the dumb permit, because it's just, you know, you gotta get the permit ahead of time. And if you don't know where you're going to be and when you're going to be there, then this permit thing is just a real pain in the butt. So anyway, we'll try to do that and pop out on the other side of Yellowstone near Cody and then keep going. You know, this is day 27, and I think we've had about 7 or 8 rest days. So we've ridden about 20 out of 45 days, and we're 3.5 weeks into it. You know, originally I was thinking this would be a 6-week trip. Money-wise, it still may be a 6-week trip. We get down to Colorado. I actually had probably 5 or 6 days of routes that went back north towards Rocky Mountain National Park and Mount Evans, and some of that stuff that we may just drop off and not even do, and then work our way down towards Pagosa Springs through Lake City and Creed, and then, you know, get back to Farmington, and that's a trip. And then it's back home, back to work, got bills to pay, Daniel goes back to school, Sarah tries to figure out what she wants to do with herself, whether she's going to try to go to college in the spring, get a job, who knows what. You know, I got to call my clients back, see if they still want to use me, see if I still want to do what I do. I mean, I love my job, and I'm just so sick of not having any control over my time. And having 3 weeks like this, 6 weeks like this, has been awesome. So it's gonna be hard to go back. Anyway, we'll let you know what happens tomorrow. And that's all for now. Bye.